Hey everyone, so the Federal Reserve Bank of St. Louis is showing symptoms of the same sickness the Federal Reserve exhibits at large. They recently came out with a statement saying they were shocked over the lack of retirement savings that your average American had. So let's get this straight. The Federal Reserve has active policies that outright punish savers in two ways. Number one, they force interest rates near zero. This creates a situation where banks can only compete with one another by offering interest rates in the 0 to 2% range, and realistically even 2% in a savings account would be insanely high, and it's been that way for quite some time. You see? Take a look at some of the highest interest rates you can find. 1.6%, very impressive. Meanwhile, the Federal Reserve is responsible for our inflation as well, and it claims it only inflates our currency away at roughly 2 to 3% a year. So it's really fifth grade arithmetic that can show you how savers are being screwed. You put your money into a savings account and it grows by, let's say, 0.5% a year. But in that year, it loses 2% of its value. So overall, your savings account loses value over time, even if the actual number of dollars remains the same or increases by a small amount. And by the way, 2% inflation is a very conservative estimate. So it's actually more shocking to me that the Federal Reserve was shocked at all by this revelation. How did they not realize this? How did they not realize that in order to make any return on your money, you are forced to put it in an ever-increasingly volatile stock market, because that is the only chance you have at making any return whatsoever. So this whole system, at best, might reward big risk takers and speculators, but for anyone who wants to be a bit thrifty, anyone who wants to go down a safer route, you are out of luck. That safer route is circular. You can walk all day and go precisely nowhere, and you have your central bankers to thank for that. This type of behavior is essentially putting a cap on how much interest you can get from your savings account. It's actually deceptive because there is no rule that banks need to abide by pertaining to how high of an interest rate banks can charge to borrowers or give out to savers. But considering our central bank is the prime mover of interest rates, they get to set the whole scene. They get to draw the lines in the sand of which you cannot feasibly pass, even if the market around you is desperately trying to pass it. Compounding all this, when the Federal Reserve puts downward pressure on interest rates, this encourages people to take on far more debt. And one important piece of information an interest rate conveys is how risky a loan is. So with the distortion of interest rates, the ability to properly assess risk goes out the window. All in all, the Federal Reserve has built a house of cards, and they wonder why a small gust of wind is able to almost topple it over. These are the leaders, everyone. These are the people that run things around here. These are the supposed geniuses that make it all happen. We might just be in a whole heap of trouble. Thank you, and that's all.